Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradham Hari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradham Hari Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tera Vanacham Harim Yamuna Tera Vanacham Harim Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradham Hari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradham Hari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tera Vanacham Hari Yamuna Tera Vanacham Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivajadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radhe. Jaya Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Jaya Radhe Shyam. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishwapad, Paramātmā Sarvagacaya, Sūta Gosvāmī, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Vishwapad, Paramātmā Sarvagacaya, Sūta Gosvāmī, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki. Ananta Kodi Vaishnavrinda ki. Sirup Si Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sari Goswami Prabhu ki. Prem se ko Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivajari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopa Gopi Govinath Cham Kunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhana ki. Vrindavan Dham ki. Mathura Dham ki. Mayapura Dham ki. Jaganapuri Dham की तुलसी महारानी भक्ति देवी की गंगे यमुना देवी की हरि नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की श्री श्री गौनिताय की श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर की गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल समवेत भक्त वृंद की all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, second chapter, text number 11. Vadanti tattva-vidas tattvam jñānam advayam brahmeti paramātmeti Bhagavān iti śabdyate. Vadanti tattva-vidas tattvam jñānam advayam brahmeti paramātmeti Bhagavān iti śabdyate. Vadanti tattva-vidas tattvam jñānam advayam brahmeti paramātmeti Bhagavān iti śabdyate.
Vadanti tattva-vidas tattvam jñānam advayam brahmeti paramātmeti Bhagavān iti śabdyate.
Vadanti tattva-vidas tattvam jñānam advayam brahmeti paramātmeti Bhagavān iti śabdyate.
Vadanti tattva-vidas. Jnānam advayam. Brahmeti paramātmeti.
vadanti tattva-vidas. jñānam advayam. brahmeti paramātmeti. Bhagavān śabdyate. Matajis, vadanti, they say, tat, that, tattva-vidaḥ, learned souls, tattvam, the absolute truth, yat, which, jñānam, knowledge, advayam, nondual, Brahman, Brahman, iti, thus, Paramātmā, Paramātmā, iti, thus, Bhagavān, Bhagavān, iti, thus, śabdyate, is known. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge and is called impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramātmā and the personality of Godhead. Purport. This Sanskrit verse appears as the 11th verse of the First Canto, second chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, where Sūta Gosvāmī answers the questions of the sages headed by Śaunaka Ṛṣi concerning the essence of all scriptural instructions. Tattva-vidaḥ refers to persons who have knowledge of the absolute truth. They can certainly understand knowledge without duality because they are on the spiritual platform. The absolute truth is known sometimes as Brahman, sometimes as Paramātmā, sometimes as Bhagavān. Persons who are in knowledge of the truth know that one who tries to approach the absolute simply by mental speculation will ultimately realize the impersonal Brahman. And one who tries to approach the absolute through yoga practice will be able to realize Paramātmā. But one who has complete knowledge and spiritual understanding realizes the spiritual form of Bhagavān, the personality of Godhead. Devotees of the personality of Godhead know that Sri Krishna, the son of the king of Braj, is the absolute truth. They do not discriminate between Sri Krishna's name, form, quality, and pastimes. One who wants to separate the Lord's absolute name, form, and qualities from the Lord Himself must be understood to be lacking in absolute knowledge. A pure devotee knows that when he chants the transcendental name Krishna, Sri Krishna is present as transcendental sound. He therefore chants with full respect and veneration. When he sees the form of Sri Krishna, he does not see anything different from the Lord. If one sees otherwise, he must be considered untrained in absolute knowledge. This lack of absolute knowledge is called Maya. One who is not Krishna conscious is ruled by the spell of Maya under the control of a duality in knowledge. In the Absolute, all manifestations of the Supreme Lord are non-dual, just as the multifarious forms of Vishnu, the control of Maya, are non-dual. Empiric philosophers who pursue the impersonal Brahman accept only the knowledge that the personality of the living entity is not different from the personality of the Supreme Lord. And mystic yogis who try to locate the Paramātmā accept only the knowledge that the pure soul is not different from the super soul. The absolute conception of a pure devotee, however, includes all others. A devotee does not see anything except in its relationship with Krishna, and therefore his realization is the most perfect of all. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yanam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Gadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yotabata Kamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tatta Ganjana Gaudangi Radhe Vrindavaneshari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vadanti tattva-vidas tattvam jñānam advayam brahmeti paramātmeti Bhagavān śabdyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge and is called impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramātmā, and the personality of Godhead. So this is famous verse from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, as Prabhupada is explaining. From the First Canto, 2nd chapter, text number 11. So interestingly enough here in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so this verse is from the Adi Lila, the first part, and of the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, and also in the 2nd chapter and text number 11. This verse actually is also just to show, of course it is ultimately referring to Krishna, the absolute truth, Swami Bhagavān, as further on in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the 1st Canto, 3rd chapter, text number 43, Ete chamsa kalapumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indriyari Vyakulam Lokam Ridyante Yuge Yuge. So there's an explanation of the different personalities of Godhead. And so this verse, Ete Chamsa Kalapumsam, is known as Paribhasha Sutra. So in essence, the sutra, that is something told in a few words, essential things spoken in a few words, that is a sutra. Like Vedanta Sutra, Vedanta, the end of knowledge, in just a few words, because the Vedic knowledge is very vast. So there, it is explained, Paribhasha Sutra, that we understand that this verse actually should be remembered throughout the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, because many personalities of Godhead are explained there, even the demigods and demigoddesses. So one may become bewildered that who is now actually the Supreme Lord? Vishnu, Narayan, Nrsingadev, Ram, Prithu Maharaj, who is the Supreme now? Or maybe Shiva, because Shiva is also addressed as Bhagavān, or Indra. So just to make sure that everyone will understand, this verse has been mentioned and explained in this way, that we should remember that Krishna, throughout the Bhagavatam, we have to remember that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swayam Bhagavan. Ete Chamsa Kalapumsam. So certainly two. Ete Chamsa. So and all the others are simply expansions of Krishna, or expansions of the expansions of Krishna's transcendental form. And then by the way, the Lord is coming, Indriyar Vyakulam Lokam. Those are Vyakul who are disturbed, the demigods, who are representatives of the Lord, who are managing the affairs of this material world under the guidance or the inspiration of the Lord ultimately. So when they get disturbed, then the Lord is coming. Mridyante yuge yuge. As Krishna is himself saying in Bhagavad Gita, I come in every millennium. Yada yada dharmasya glani bhavati bharata bhyutama dharmasya tadat srijami aham. In my form, own transcendental form, I coming. As I am, Satchidananda Sarup. Paritranaya saranam vinasha chadoskritam dharana samstana pataya sambhavami yuge yuge. So I come to establish dharma, to protect the devotees and to annihilate the demons. So here Krishna is explained as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, he wants to explain, or he wants to tell the readers, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from Krishna. And that has been explained in the Mangalacharan verses which are there in the beginning of these transcendental literatures about the wonderful form, qualities and pastimes of Mahaprabhu. There he has explained in the 4th verse, which he has quoted again in the beginning of this chapter, and he wants to discuss actually this verse. Yad advayam pranupashadi tadyapi tadanubha ya atmanantaryami purusha iti sosyam savibhava sadaishvarya purno yahya bhagavan sa swayamayam na chaitanyat krishnat jagadi paratattvam paramiha. Explaining so that there is no difference between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna. And they are the param tattva, the highest truth. Both of them are Swayam Bhagavan. Krishna is addressed as Swayam Bhagavan, and no other personality of Godhead is addressed as Swayam Bhagavan. We don't say Swayam Bhagavan Ram. We say Bhagavan Ram or Purushottam Ram. We don't say Swayam Bhagavan Vishnu or Nrsingadev. No, Swayam Bhagavan, only Krishna is addressed as Swayam Bhagavan. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is no different from Krishna. See, Krishna, Chaitanya, Radha, Krishna, Nahayanya, he's actually no different from Radha and Krishna. And that also has been explained in the Mangalacharan verses. Radha Bhava Dyuti Somitam Nomi Krishna Sarupam. Mahaprabhu is Krishna Sarup. But he has come with the luster, the duty, the golden complexion of Srimati Radharani. She is known as Gaurangi, and Mahaprabhu is Gauranga. And the bhav, the mood of Srimati Radharani. So he has come to experience the mood of Srimati Radharani. That is actually internal reason why Mahaprabhu has come. That is also explained in Mangalacharan verses, and that will be also explained in the subsequent chapters. So the Mangalacharan verses in regards to Mahaprabhu especially, they are being discussed in these chapters of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so that one can nicely understand the position of Mahaprabhu, and then there is no different from from Krishna, and that is the highest truth, Param Tattva, Swayam Bhagavān. So only Mahaprabhu and Krishna are addressed as Swayam Bhagavān. So in these verses also, so the same points are being explained. Advayam, that Mahaprabhu and Krishna, they are the origin of the impersonal Brahman. Tanu-bha, Tanu means the body, Bha means the effulgence. And so all it is mentioned in Upanishads, and the great personalities, they have accepted that, as explained here. In this verse, vadanti tattva-vidas. Vadanti, they are saying, tattva-vidaḥ, the knowers of the absolute truth. Those who are properly situated. So they have explained, tattvam jñānam advayam. So the absolute truth is advayam. So different kinds of knowledge. There's transcendental knowledge and there's material knowledge. So in the material world we have duality. There's heat, there is cold, there's happiness and distress. So duality is there. And so the knowledge pertaining to this material world is known as dual knowledge, pertaining to this material world. Whereas the spiritual knowledge is known as transcendental, it is non-dual. Of course, the Mayavadis, they have some misconception. They will say the absolute truth and the jiva, they are one. So the jiva will merge in the absolute truth, and Prabhupada is explaining. And even those who are meditating on Paramātmā, not all of that, but mostly, they also have the impersonal understanding that we will merge with the Paramātmā. They are also Mayavadis actually, but not all of them. Some of them, they will understand the Paramātmā as a form of Vishnu, and that they may later also serve the Lord. But even Paramātmā, so Paramātmā is situated only in the material world. His manifestation here, as we know, the three Purusha avatars are there, expansions of Mahashankarshan, the Karanadaksha Vishnu, known as Mahavishnu also, who is the super soul of the whole material world. So many universes are emanating from Mahavishnu's body. So he's the super soul of the whole material world. And then Kshirodaksha, the Garbhodaksha Vishnu is situated in one universe. In each universe, unlimited universes are coming from Mahavishnu. In each universe there is a Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who is then the super soul of the particular universe. The Dvitya Purushavatar, the second personality of Godhead. And the third is Kshirodaksha Vishnu, and the Paramātmā situated in everyone's heart. So in all the embodied being, the Paramātmā is there. And the human form, nowadays, of course, maybe 2 meters at the most, or 180, 170, maybe the size of our body. Some are a little bigger, some are smaller. And then it's mentioned the Paramātmā, Dasangulam. This is the size of Paramātmā in the heart of the normal conditioned soul. Of course, if one is a small person, then Paramātmā may be a little smaller. If one is a giant, like in previous yugas also, then Paramātmā will be a little bigger. And in the ant's body, Paramātmā is there also, and is very small. So accordingly, so the Lord, because the Lord is as Yogeshwar, is the origin of all mystic powers and opulences. Sar Aishwarya Purna. All opulences are there in Krishna to the fullest extent. But even Paramātmā, he can become bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest. as these are yogis' perfections also, which the yogis may attain to some extent. So the Mayavadis, so they don't have sufficient knowledge and they want to merge in the absolute truth, the Brahmajyoti, which is simply Krishna's effulgence, Tanubha, Prakash. So the Brahmajyoti is the effulgence from Krishna's body or Mahaprabhu's body. And of course even Vishnu or Ramchandra, they are also effulgent. So the Brahmajyotis in the spiritual world is all pervading. So the effulgence of all these personalities of Godheads, that forms the Brahmajyoti. But Krishna is the original of all Vishnu Murtis and of the Brahmajyoti ultimately, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they are the highest absolute truth. Of course, even Srimati Radharani, the Mul Shakti, the original pleasure potency, Ladini Shakti, or energy of the Lord. So she's the, of course, the other Devis, goddesses of fortune, are simply expansions of Srimati Radharani. That is also explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita later on, or in the various literatures, especially by our Goswamis. So the original form, male form is Krishna, and the female form is Srimati Radharani. So her transcendental form is there, and the effulgence from her body is also part of the Brahmajyoti. We, for example, the month of Kartik, we follow Urja Vrata. Urja means also the splendor, the effulgence, the energy. And she is known as Urjeshwari, Srimati Radharani. So and Radha and Krishna, they are one, but they become two to perform wonderful pastimes. But still, so even the Mayavadis are those who are engaged in performing austerities and acquiring transcendental knowledge. They are to be respected as transcendentalists. As Rishabdev in the 5th Canto is explaining, there are two transcendentalists. The impersonalists and then the personalists. Both of them are known as transcendentalists, and they are to be respected. At least they are not engrossed in this material world and engaged in sense gratification. But they want to become free. But unfortunately, they have some misconception, big misconception, unfortunately. But if they are to some extent pious, or not non-envious, or not critical or offensive towards the Lord, they may also become Vaishnavas ultimately, because ultimately everyone is a servant of Krishna. Jivarasopoi Krishnera Nityadas. That is the constitutional position of all the jivas, even the Mayavadis, even the big demons. They are also servants of Krishna, but due to the influence of the modes of material nature, they are in a certain position and they have some certain misconceptions. So even the tattva-vidas, the Mayavadis, and the yogis, they have they don't have complete knowledge. They're just in the beginning of spiritual life, just primary school and secondary school they are. But the devotees are on a higher level. They have understood that Krishna or Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so they are trying then to engage in the service of the Lord. And then, by the Lord's mercy, they will get this transcendental knowledge. So non-dual, the transcendental knowledge, it is non-dual because it is known as advayam, but there's a distinction between the tattva-vidas, the Mayavadis, and the transcendentalists. We may also say that the knowledge, transcendental knowledge, is non-dual, because it has nothing to do with this material world, which is full of duality. But at the same time, then in the spiritual world, there is also duality. But it is transcendental duality, there's transcendental variety, there's transcendental happiness, there's transcendental distress, transcendental illusion, transcendental sadness. So that we have to understand. So the devotees, so therefore even the four great philosophers are there, Vaishnavacharyas, and they are given this darshan, the philosophy. Of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the supreme truth, no different from Krishna, and his conceptions are the highest conceptions, and all the other conceptions of the various acharyas ultimately are culminating in the Achinta Beda Beda Tattva of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, inconceivable oneness and difference from the absolute truth and then of the non-dual world and the dual world. So, for example, all the Vishnu avatars, they're not different from Krishna. At the same time, they're also different. They're all the personality of Godhead, they are Satchidananda Swarup, but there's a difference there also. Krishna is residing in Golok, and in the Vaikuntha planets, the different Vishnu Murtis are residing. They're all Bhagavān, but there's a difference. Like the government is one, Indian government or any government, there's one. But then the different personalities are there. There's the president, the prime minister, the different chief ministers, different personality. So the kingdom of God is one, but there's a variety there in the oneness. So therefore the acharyas have explained, and especially Mahaprabhu, inconceivable oneness and different. And the material world has come from Krishna. So it is not different from Krishna, but there's a difference also. So the different philosophies are there, and ultimately explaining this non-dual absolute truth. Like Madhvacharya's Dvaita Dvaitvad or Shuddha Dvait. And the pure duality is there, the transcendental duality, specifically the Krishna is there, the Supreme Lord, and we are the servants of Krishna. So that is transcendental duality. We are no different in the sense that we are transcendental, Satchidananda Swarup, but Krishna is Vibhu and we are Anu. Krishna is great and we are small. And so that is known as Dvaita Dvait, so it is transcendental to this material duality. It is transcendental duality. And also known as Shuddha Dvait, pure duality is there. And Ramanuja, he has explained Vishishta Dvait, specified non-duality. So the same, basically it is the same philosophy, understanding of all the acharyas, but just differently termed, just different name is given. But it is the same understanding is there. Only slight differences may be there. And so on, the Nibarkacharya has explained Dvait Advait or Bed Abed. And Vishnu Swami has explained Shuddh Advait. So that we should know. And so the transcendental realm, as explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, and especially through his followers, so that is most wonderful and most complete. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given the most complete understanding of the transcendental realm, of this transcendental devotional service, and therefore he is accepted by all the great personalities as Swayam Bhagavan. Even the different acharyas of the four sampradayas, they accept Mahaprabhu. But because of their love towards, for example, Ramchandra or Vishnu, they will keep their love just in Mahaprabhu's lila. So specifically two devotees are mentioned. One is Murari Gupta. He's a great devotee of, and even mentioned incarnation of Hanuman, a great devotee of Ramchandra. So one time in a joking way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was telling him, you should worship Krishna because Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, he's the source of Ram. And so he had love and faith for Mahaprabhu, but he had also love and faith for Ramchandra Bhagavan. So he thought, I have to follow Mahaprabhu. Okay, let me try not to think of Ram and think of Krishna and Mahaprabhu. So he was trying the whole day, and night time he was crying and crying and crying and crying. No, I cannot give up the lotus feet of Ram. And next day he came crying to Mahaprabhu, I'm sorry, I cannot give up the lotus feet of Ram. All respect to you, all respect to Krishna, but my pranana, the Lord of my life, that is Ram. And Mahaprabhu said, fine, you're okay, no problem. I just wanted to test you. And same also with Jiva, with Sanatana Gosvāmī and Rupa Gosvāmī's brother, his name was Anupam. He was the father of Jiva Gosvāmī. He was also a worshipper of Ram, and he was doing the same thing, Mahaprabhu with him. you should worship Krishna. And Ram is just an expansion of Krishna. He also tried, he could not also do that. And Mahaprabhu also told him, fine, no problem. So an important point is Prabhupada actually, yes, whatever knowledge we are getting here, so we should try to apply in our life, and so we should be, we should have a proper understanding of the philosophy, so we should be Shastravid, or what is the Siddhanta of our Sampradaya, we should know. And even if we want to go to Braj, anyone wants to go to Braj in the spiritual realm, Golok Vrindavan, who wants to go? No, do you want to go? No? You don't want to go? Yeah, you want to go? Yeah, so we should know Rasa Shastravit. We should know also how we can gain this Braj Ras, the relationship with Krishna. So which is, as we know, 5 kinds of relationships are there. The Madhurya Ras, Vatsalya Ras, and the Sakya Ras, and the Dasya Ras and Shanta Ras. So now in the beginning, so we are sadhakas, we are practicing devotees, and we are chanting the holy names, and we get some taste, some ruchis there, maybe we can say some ras, because even in the material world there's some ras is there. Some taste is there, like in the foodstuffs also. 6 rasas are there. Like the sweet, a mellow is there, or the sweetness of the food. The sweets who like sweets, rasgulla, rasmalai, gulab jamun. Most devotees, they like sweets. Especially the brahmanas, they like the sweets. That is well known. But then even some people, they don't like the sweet, but they like the salty preparations. Namak, salt. There's ras there. The namak, the salt. If you don't put the salt in the vegetables, then you cannot taste actually. Although even the vegetable, they have also some taste. If you just have the vegetables and you cook it, and some taste will be there of the vegetables, but it is very pale. It is not much. But you add a little salt, and it becomes. Then you can taste the vegetable nicely. So even the namak, especially in Bengal, it is known as rasam, ras. Give me some ras, give me some salt. Because the taste is there, it gives the taste. Even in material world, some taste of even bitter. We don't like so much bitter, because we, of course, but some people, they might like bitter. But actually for the body, all the different flavors which are there, they're important. So even the bitter taste is there. So these tastes are there in the material world also. But that is bhotik, that is spiritual ras is there. The material ras is there. But we have to try to gain the spiritual ras, spiritual nectar mellow. So as sadhakas, we are practicing with chanting the holy names. In the beginning, it is a little difficult. And there's not much taste there, not much ras there. Sometimes it becomes dry. Why? Because actually the bhav is not yet there. When he's chanting, one has some understanding, philosophical understanding, but one is not immersed in the transcendental mellow, especially if you want to go to Braj. And so therefore sometimes it's a little dry when we are chanting and nothing is there in the consciousness. The void is there, Brahmajyoti. But ultimately we have to see Krishna while we are chanting, so we have to pray. So we worship the deities, we see the deities, we see paintings of the deities, we hear about Krishna. Shyama Sundar, Siki Pichi Maulim has a peacock feather in the crown. Tribang Lalit Shyama Sundar, his form is bent in 3 places. And he has beautiful, of course, eyes like lotus petals. And different parts of his body are just like lotus flower or lotus petals. The hands also like lotus flower. Therefore we say lotus hand or lotus feet. So very beautiful. So we should actually remember Krishna while chanting ultimately, because Krishna Nama no different. But in the beginning, not much is there because the consciousness is not pure. So we have to cleanse cetudar paramajanam. We have to cleanse the consciousness by chanting Hare Krishna, or by serving the deities, for serving the Vaishnavas, and by hearing about Krishna, Nam, Roop, Gun and Lila. Hear about the glories of the holy name, hear about Krishna's transcendental form, and then Krishna's transcendental qualities and his wonderful pastimes. So by hearing, then Krishna Nam, Krishna Roop, Krishna Gun, Krishna Lila, they become one. But it will take some time. But we have to practice so that we can chant properly. And then, so in the beginning, so we're practicing, we're chanting holy names, the consciousness becomes purified, all the anattas go away, then we'll get then we are fixed, and we'll get the taste for chanting the holy names, we become attached to Krishna, attracted to Krishna. Asakti that bhav. And then on the platform of bhav, then the transcendental emotions are coming. From the soul proper, nothing to do with this material world. Now we may have some bhav, but it is not pure, because in the conditions it is under the modes of material nature. And so therefore the relationship also with Krishna is there, but it is not complete, because one is in the conditioned state. So even if one is advanced and one is realizing that I'm spirit soul and the emotions are coming from the soul proper and the exchange is there with Krishna, it is not yet ras, it is called as rati, dasya rati, sakya rati, madhurya rati or vatsalya rati. The affection, the love will be there, but it is not yet complete. But then when it is actually entering Krishna's pastimes, then there is an exchange, and then rati turns into ras. So that is ultimately to be attained, but it takes time. So in the beginning, so as explained, we must have the knowledge, and we have to perform sadhana bhakti, and especially what is important, so as Purport was explaining, and the point was that we have to try to, whatever we discuss, we have to take it to heart and apply in our life. So Srila Prabhupada this morning, every day we hear a quote of Prabhupada, always very beautiful. This one which he quoted this morning, which is quoted on the 6th February, is very nice. This is actually from Chanakya Pandit, from Niti Shastra. The slok is there. Prabhupada just, of course, is telling the translation. Two kinds of persons are there. One is like a fly-like person. So for example, if you cut yourself, little blood will be there and the flies will go there. The bee will not go there. Where is the bee going? Looking for the nectar. But the fly will go there. So those who are not highly advanced, they are fly-like persons. Even sometimes the materialistic devotees, neophyte devotees, they find fault with others. Just like the fly. You see this devotee, what he did? That devotee did that. They're going to the soul. But no, we should see the good qualities of the devotees. Be like the bee. The bee is going to the different flowers and taking what? The essence of the flower, the pollen, and then making honey. So we should see the good qualities of the devotees. Only, of course, if one is in a position, the president, he has to see that those in the ashram or in the temple, they're doing the things properly. So he has to discriminate. This is good and it is not right. The guru also, the spiritual master, or the parents have to tell the child, this is good and this is bad. But it is done in a loving way. And even there, the father or the spiritual master will encourage the child or the disciple and see what is good, what is doing good, and is encouraging. Oh yes, my dear child, you're chanting a little bit Hare Krishna, very nice. Good, you should chant every day. And if he's doing something wrong, then he will mildly chastise. Of course, sometimes you have to be a little more strong, but there has to be more positive. We have to be more positive. So even as a leader or father, or to speak of spiritual master, of course the love is there and one has to be positive. And then the chastisement has to be there also. Otherwise, the child will not be able to grow nicely if he's doing something wrong and one is simply pampering. But more we should see the good in others. So for that, so we have to be so very humble and tolerant. As Mahaprabhu told, Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnana amanina amananena kirtaniya sadahari. We should be humble, tolerant and respectful. And then we can properly chant the holy names. And so then we can become absorbed in chanting the holy names. So dainatva, pakva dainatva, true humility should be there. So in the beginning, the devotees also, when they come to the temple, they don't know anything. Then naturally you're humble because you don't know anything. And you have been struggling in the material world, suffering. You come to the temple, oh, there's some bliss there. But then many times after some time, one is used to do everything, and then that humility which is kacha, it is not ripe humility. It is unripe humility. Sometimes it goes away, and garv, pride is coming. I'm a big devotee, I'm the best book distributor, or I'm this or that. But that shouldn't be there, not be there, garv, pride. Of course it is all very subtle, because ultimately the emotions are there in the spiritual world. Even the gopis, sometimes they're proud. But that is transcendental pride. So there's a very fine line, and we have to analyze ourselves, our heart, and we have to be properly situated in our sarup. And I'm an infinitesimal spiritual being, completely apart from the gross and subtle body. This is our constitutional position. I'm the servant of Krishna. Not only the servant of Krishna, but das, anudas, the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. That is our constitutional position. And then we have to see that we can remain humble even in the difficult situations and be always positive. And then we have to pray to Krishna to give us the transcendental intelligence so that we can always think properly, speak properly and act properly, so that we can nicely engage in devotional service, so that we can advance in our spiritual life. And of course, ultimately we want to come to the highest position of pure love of Godhead, but it takes some time to come to this stage. So beginning, humility has to be there, and so ripe humility, so that is when one is understanding one's constitutional position, that I'm an infinitesimal spiritual being, insignificant servant of Krishna. So that is ripe humility. And then at that point the faith will be also strong, Drir Vishwas. And then one can actually surrender if one is transcendently situated. If one is on the modes of material nature, the humility is not ripe, the surrender is not complete, the faith will not be strong. So we have to try to become transcendently situated, free from the modes of material nature. So for that we have to, every day we have to endeavor by following the process given by Prabhupada, and also we have to pray very much to Hari Guru Vaishnav, so you may be able to be properly situated always, despite all difficulties which are always there and challenges which are there, and so that we may be able to come to the platform of pure devotional service, and then we can actually. So by Mahaprabhu's mercy, of course first by mercy of Sri Guru, and then Mahaprabhu's mercy, and then we can understand Radha Krishna's pastimes. Just now, these days we are discussing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the 10th canto, and the 30th chapter, so about the gopis' love for Krishna. So first of all, one must be properly situated, and then one will be able to understand the loving sentiments of the gopis, otherwise it is not possible. So that is also explained by Prabhupada in Nectar of Devotion. So even, for example, the platform of bhav, the transcendental emotions which are there, asa sattvic bhav, vyabhichari bhav. In the conditioned state we cannot completely understand. But when one is transcendently situated, then one can understand the loving exchange between Krishna and the gopis especially. But even in general, with all the Brijavasis, one must be transcendently situated. Then one can properly understand. But at the same time, so here, but then we have to perform our devotional service always very nicely with all humility. And then by Krishna's mercy we can understand, and then we can be absorbed in remembering Krishna's wonderful form, his qualities and his pastimes with his associates in Braj, the gopis, Maria Yashoda, his friends Sudam, Sridham, his servants, Raktak, Patrak and so on, and the cows and the calves and all the inhabitants of Braj, who all have deep love for Krishna. Hare Krishna. Today one devotee was asking me that what is the significance of the red color? Today they are wearing red, the deities. The red color of the deity's dress. What is the significance of the red color? What did I answer? It is love, prem. The different stages of prem are there. Prem, sneh, man, rag, anurag. The color of anurag, deep love for Krishna. That is red color, is there. So always we should try to see Krishna, or we should try to see things related to Krishna. So we should try to see Krishna everywhere and everything related to Krishna. For this to acquire, it is important to get this transcendental knowledge. And then we can have this transcendental vision always. So we see red, we see love, the loving exchange between Radha Krishna, or even the Gopas with Krishna, or Maria Yashoda with Krishna. That is the color of red. Of course we see gold and we see Srimati Radharani, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, and her love, which is the most bright. So all the Brijvasis have love. But then the most Unnat Ujjvala Ras, Unnat Ujjval. Unnat means the highest, Ujjval, bright, shining, love. That is the love of the gopis. That is the most exalted. And that is just like Radharani's Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi. Tapta Kanchana. It is like molten gold. Gold, when you melt the gold, it is very beautiful. So that is Radharani's color. Because she has the most, so after Anurag, Bhav, Mahabhav. And it is explained even in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Rur Bhav, Adi Rur Bhav. So most exalted love is that of Srimati Radharani. And yes, and then of course the gopis also who are serving Srimati Radharani. And we know our acharyas, the 6 Gosvāmis, they all, Srimati Radharani is very dear. Well, from their point of view, they say we are servants of Radharani. But Radharani, she doesn't think that the gopis and manjaris are my servants. They are my friends. She doesn't say to Rupa Manjari, Dasi, you come here. She will say, Saki, or just Rupa, come here. But the manjaris are so humble, they are a little younger also. They will think we are the maid servants of Srimati Radharani. We are ready to do anything for Radha and Krishna. So that is the highest love. So Mahaprabhu has given this Unnadujjala Ras, that is also explained, Anarpita Charim Chira Kainavatana Kalo, Samarpatam Unnadujjala Rasam Sabhakti Sriyam. Mahaprabhu ultimately he came to give this. That is there also in the Mangalacharan verse. So these are explained very nicely. So therefore Prabhupada said, first we read Bhagavad Gita, then Bhagavatam, and then Chaitanya Charitamrita. After having read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we can go back to the Bhagavatam, and then we can really understand the 10th canto and the love of the gopis, otherwise not possible. Hare Krishna, Om Tat Sat. Any question?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for a very nice class.
You have to hold the mic a little bit closer, yeah, like this.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for a nice class.
All Prabhupada's mercy.
Very enlightening. So, Prabhu, can you give an example of difference between transcendental pride and material pride? Because when gopis got pride, then also Krishna disappeared. Right?
Yes.
So that is also not good.
No, that is fine. Transcendental pride is fine. For example, the gopis, even as explained, Srimati Radharani, she became a little proud. That is actually one reason why Krishna left her. But why she became proud also, and why she was thinking in this way. So she was thinking herself very fortunate. Even we think ourselves fortunate. We are in ISKCON, we are servants of Prabhupada, so we can have some pride. We are fortunate. We are in ISKCON, we are fortunate we are with Prabhupada. So that is transcendental pride. And like Radharani's pride. But then she was thinking, I'm alone with Krishna. But I want to have my gopis with me. And then we can have a nice dance with Krishna. Because before, so many gopis were there, Maharas. The Vipaksha gopis, the rival gopis were there. Chandravali, this transcendental rivalry is there. So sometimes it is mentioned there is no envy in the spiritual world. But this transcendental rivalry, which is like envy, but it is transcendental and Krishna is in the center. And still the love is there. But then there's some rivalry there. So it is very subtle and we have to try to understand. So they love each other, even Chandravali or Radharani, but then there's some rivalries there. Some transcendental envy, you may say. And then so many gopis were there who attained perfection. For example, we want to go to Golok, right? Who wants to go Golok? But you cannot go directly. First, after giving up this body, we say no more birth. But actually not possible. First, you will have to go to one of Krishna's pastimes. Where Krishna, in one of the universe, where Krishna performs his pastimes, after giving up this body as sadhaka, if you realize your Sarup, if you attain Sarup Siddhi, you give up your body, then you can, if you realize your Sarup, I'm a gopi, then you can go to one of the universes where Krishna is performing his pastime, and then there you will enter the pastime, like this. So that is the situation. Otherwise it is not possible. So we cannot directly go. But we say we want to go to Golok, and it's true, and ultimately we can go to Golok, but it is not so easy. As sometimes we may say, of course we may say he's going to Golok. He's on the way to Golok. He's on the way to Golok. But it's sometimes a long way. It will take some time. So that we have to understand. And so some of the gopis, they attain perfection, like even in Dandakaranya, when Krishna Ram was there in the forest. Some they were doing tapasya, and they already were worshipping Krishna and in Gopi Bhav. And they saw Ram, oh beautiful Ram, looks like Krishna. And they had the conjugal attraction. And Ram understood and he said, Ekapatni Vrat. I took Vrat of only one wife. And so I cannot fool around with the girls. I'm the king. But Krishna is just a cowboy, he's young. So, but he said, I bless you, then next lifetime you will be with me. And they also joined. And some of the Upanishads, they also, everything is personal in the ultimate sense. Even the rivers are there. There's a personality of the river, the personality of the earth. Upanishads also. They also wanted to become gopis. They became gopis also. And some sadhakas also. Like we are sadhakas. And our acharyas, they're all gopis or manjaris. So we also want to be with Prabhupada, right? We want to be with Rupa Gosvāmī. Rupa Gosvāmī is a manjari, a gopi. So we want to become gopi also. But then we have to qualify also. But if you realize our Sarup, I'm a gopi, even the main name may be may be revealed in perfection, and then you will go to one of the universes, and then you can enter the Ras Leela. In one place Prabhupada has mentioned, also written, the goal is to enter the Ras Leela and dance with Krishna. Of course, it's not for everyone, and it's for very few, very rarely. Mostly the manjaris, they simply want to serve. So some of the gopis, so they enter the Ras Leela, and the Vipaksha gopis, 4 kinds of gopis are there. The friendly, those who are neutral, they're all dancing. Radharani took too many gopis here. I'm not feeling so much pleasure. Because it is, and different bhavis there, different moods are there amongst the gopis. So, but then, so therefore she left, But then after Krishna joined her and he left her because a little pride was there. I'm fortunate, but it is transcendental. Like we think Prabhupada is our guru, we are fortunate of that. But then then material pride, so we have to be careful. If you think, yes, of course Prabhupada is the acharya of our society and he has done so much for the whole world, like nobody else practically, but still, then there's a very... sometimes you have to be careful and see that we don't become influenced by the modes of material nature, and then material pride may come also, as sadhaka also, that okay, I'm the best book distributor, or yes, Prabhupada is the only guru, there was never any guru before, there will not be any guru after. No, there's some misconception. So that is then some wrong pride is there. But to be proud of Prabhupada, that is nice. We should be proud. Unfortunate, Prabhupada is the acharya of this great society. We're connected to Prabhupada. By his mercy we are here. So some pride can be there. That is transcendental. So, but it is a very fine line. Do you understand the point? So Radharani so she was a little proud, but transcendental pride was there. But then actually she wanted her gopis to be with her. And she wanted to dance with Krishna, but only her gopis, not the new gopis. And the Vipaksha gopis, Chandravali, because they have a little different mood. And they're just new, they're not so expert in dancing, they're just learning. Like this.
Thank you.
Okay?
Can I ask one question?
Well, it's almost 9:15, but so, I mean, you can ask, and others who have to go, they can go, because we have to stop 9 o'clock, but now it's 9:15. We can take the question, or we should stop, or?
Yeah, one last question.
Last question.
So as Prabhu, you were talking about chastisement, like
Yes.
the child grows, the parents can chastise so that he can remain protected. So we see that among brothers also there is some misunderstandings.
Yes.
So is it the duty of the father to like chastise and then correct and remove that misunderstanding?
Yes, of course. The father is there, and if the children have some misunderstanding, they're fighting with each other, so he has to try to help to solve the problem. It is natural. He will try. And he will listen to both sides. Same with the president, if two pujaris or two devotees are fighting, he cannot just think, okay, let them sort it out. No. Then he will call them, why you're fighting, why you're beating each other.
We keep the boxing gloves in the office.
Yeah, okay. So then, you have to intervene, and you have to see what is the matter. And then he will try to solve the matter. And usually, he will try to make them understand, both of you should be humble. As Prabhupada said, your love for me will be shown by how much you cooperate. Now, what does cooperation means? So sometimes it is like this. If the devotee is not mature, okay, I have this kind of thinking, it should be done in this way. Or the devotee is thinking, no, it should be done in this way. And then, so that is not cooperation. No, it should be my way. My way or the highway. No, we should try to understand. We should listen to the other devotees and what is his feeling. Why is he saying it this way? We should try to understand the other devotee rather than try to give our understanding. No, we should be humble. I have my understanding, but let me see what his understanding is. And this way, then you try to cooperate. And in this way, you can show your love. So humility has to be there. Respect has to be there. Amongst the devotees, even amongst the children, brothers, they should try to be humble, tolerant, and respectful to each other. And then the problem can be solved easily if humility is there. Even if two devotees are there, or two sons, and one of them is humble, then the problem will not be there. But if both of them are not humble, then the fighting will be there. Usually can understand if there's fighting because both of them are not humble. But if one of them is humble, then there will be no fighting. Okay, anyway, he's thinking he's right, let him think he's right. Like Sūta Gosvāmī, one scholar came, I'm Digvijay, I'm the greatest scholar. You sign my paper that I conquered you. Yeah, okay, he signed the paper. No problem, let him be the greatest scholar. But actually, Sūta Gosvāmī is the greatest scholar. He wrote such wonderful books. There's one book, Chitra Kavitvani. You ever heard that? Chitra Kavitvani, amazing poetry is there. So he has some two consonants are there, with Ra. With Ra is making one verse. Or with Sa, very amazing. Anyway, that's another subject matter. To explain that, it will take too much time, so we stop here.
He gets excited and starts a new class.
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk about these verses of Sūta Gosvāmī for an hour, but we stop here. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki. Śrīla Prabhupada ki.
He goes from Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti quickly.